Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hi, welcome to the show. Today I have my friend Rachelle Doorley from the blog TinkerLab. So welcome, Rachelle.
Thank you so much, Jill. I'm very happy to be here today.
First, I
Thanks for
have to
having me.
read what it says about you on your blog. You are a maker, a tea drinker, an arts educator, a mama, a Girl Scout leader, a traveler, a sketchbook collector, a creativity enabler. I love it. So can you tell me how you started with TinkerLab? Because we met, I was thinking about it about 6 years ago, and you had launched TinkerLab and you were growing it. So can you talk about what inspired you and the evolution of TinkerLab?
Absolutely. I can't believe it's been 6 years.
I
So
know.
that was actually shortly after I started it. So the TinkerLab's been around for about 7 years now, a little over 7 years. And, it started, so basically what it is, it's a website. It started as a blog, and it's a hub for parents and educators or grandparents or after school teachers who want to support creativity in young children through art and science and tinkering. And we do that by providing free content through our blog. And we also have a free 5-day art challenge where families can download art activities that are really simple to do with their kids. We also have classes, both in person and online. And so we deliver this content in lots of different ways. And, this all started when my older daughter, I have 2 girls, and when my older daughter was 1.5 and she started just drawing, right? It was the first I'd ever seen her. We'd done all kinds of things together, but she started making marks on paper with crayons. And up until that point, I was an art educator. I worked in schools in
Wait, I
Los
have to
Angeles.
interject.
Oh, can you
and I
hear
have
me?
Yeah, totally. But I
Oh,
have to
okay.
interject and I have to say that you
Oh, yeah.
have a master's from Harvard.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And so I was teaching in schools and in museums, and I had worked with children from kindergarten all the way up through adults. When I started TinkerLab, I was in the middle of training a docent program at a really big local art museum. So I worked with people of all ages, but I'd never worked with 1.5-year-olds before. And so my challenge became, how do I apply all this cool stuff I know about best practices in arts education to my own child's experience? And I started hunting around for ideas and found some blogs and some books that guided me. And then I realized I had to kind of put my own flavor on it and figure it out for myself. How do I create this home Tinker Lab experience and basically turn my home into a lab? And my daughter became my key subject. And then I just grew a passion for it. It became this really big thing for me. And I stopped working at the art museum and really focused 100% on creating experiences for other people like me who were also looking for ways to foster creativity with their kids.
And what I love about your content, and you could tell me how you feel about this, your philosophy, which is everybody can be creative, that it's not about instructing kids. It's really about allowing them their creative freedom.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, for the most part, I really try to present experiences that are open-ended and that encourage children to think creatively and to build their self-confidence. And so by having a prescriptive art experience that says, well, this is exactly what you have to do, and here are the 5 steps to do it, isn't really going to get them there. But, something like that's not bad. It can definitely teach them skills. But what I'm really trying to get at is helping families or teachers set up experiences that really encourage children to ask big questions, to think creatively, to find their own passion for whatever questions it is that they're trying to pursue. And that can really be done through open-ended art experiences.
Yes. And can you tell, and then you've written a book that I love with pictures of your kids going through kind of lots of fun art experiences. And now you're also writing your second book. Can you talk about how that happened?
Yeah. So, funny. So when I started when I was, explaining how I had this 1.5-year-old and I wanted to do art with her, and I started hunting around and finding all these resources. In the process of trying to figure it out, I found some books and I thought, gosh, I would really love to write a book. But at that point, I'd never written a book. I wrote, didactic panels in the museum, which are like those like vinyl things you see on the wall. Mm. And I wrote a newsletter that went out to our teachers every week. And in a way, I think that was like my introduction to blogging. I'd written papers in grad school, but I'd never written a book. And so it became this quest for me. I'm like, I want to write a book on this topic. And I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for out there, but something that's really about how to encourage how to build and support this home environment that supports open-ended creativity. And so I just realized, I can kind of do this. I can chip away at this one blog post at a time. And I just started building this arsenal of blog posts. And then over time, I developed a voice and got a lot of feedback and realized what kinds of things people were interested in learning about and what things they weren't. And after a couple of years, I had enough content to make a book and was lucky enough to find a publisher. And then the book happened. It got published, and now I have. I'm finishing up my second book. And
wait, so the first book is called TinkerLab, a
Correct.
Hands-on guide for little innovators.
Little inventors, but
innovators. Oh, sorry, inventors.
No, it's okay. It's funny. We actually went back and forth. Should it be innovators? Should it be inventors? They're both really good words. Yeah, and so that book is great, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback on it, and it's designed for kids ages 2 to 6, and it has all kinds of ideas in it that parents can implement right away with very simple materials, and so now I'm working on 2 more books. So the book writing thing really stuck, and that's been...
Wait, although I have to say, I remember a conversation after the first book where you're like, I don't know if I could do this again.
Yeah, it's like giving birth.
Okay, so what inspired you to do it again?
I had enough space from it, and part of it, when you start something you've never done before, you're blind, and you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And so... having gone through it one time and having a little bit of space, I could see that, I could just be a little bit more strategic about my second book, and I could set up things in my life that would make it more doable and not so willy-nilly and helter-skelter. So,
and what's the second book about?
I can't talk about it just yet.
Really? Okay.
I'm not at liberty to talk about it. Although I will say that it is a creativity book for kids who are in a little bit of an older age group. So ages 8 through 12. So I'm moving up into a different age. And it's in the world of calligraphy, that, handwriting, that kind of thing. But I can't say too much more.
And when will it be out?
That's supposed to come out in the summer of 2018.
Okay.
Well, we shall see. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you talk about the evolution of your blog? So you started writing blog posts, and that turned into your book, and then you started creating courses.
Right.
And how did that happen?
Okay. Book writing is for me, it is such a fulfilling experience. And obviously I'm sticking with it and I love doing it. It's not a huge moneymaker.
Okay.
And I realized that I just needed to diversify my income and figure out other ways to really get my word out and get my ideas into the world, but also, pay my rent, right? Yep. And keep food on my table. So obviously I'm continuing with the book writing, but so my website is monetized in lots of different ways. So
do you mind walking through the different ways?
Not at all. And then I'll circle back to this question. So so money comes in through book writing. And then one of the nice things now that I've, had a book that's been out for a couple of years, I still get residual checks for my books that's already been out for a while. So people keep buying it and money still comes in. That's really lovely to have that passive income. And then there is advertising on my website, and that's nice, also passive income. And I have an affiliate agreement with Amazon, and so that's a little bit of money.
So is that like Amazon Associates?
Correct. Amazon
Okay.
Associates. So, if somebody goes onto one of the blog posts and they are like, what kind of paint are you using? And they click over, then I get a percentage for that.
Yep.
And let's see, there's something else. Oh, sponsors. So
Mm-hmm.
if we find really good sponsors that are a good fit with our brand, then we like working with them, and they might, send us products and we could review it or something along those lines. And those sponsorships can work through our blog or through our social media. So that's another way. I think there are about 5 different ways. And so then, what I was realizing is that all these different ways, aside from the book writing, that we were monetizing the website were not really in our hands, right? So if Amazon changes their terms next week, then our percentage could drop and we could make less money, which has actually happened this past year. And the same goes for advertising, and even the same goes for sponsorships, right? So money can dry up. And so I think it's really important to diversify where your income is coming from. And then realizing that I really wanted to have some products on our site. So I had been selling little products here and there, like downloadable PDFs or, lesson plans that are kind of packaged. And I really wanted to teach a class, right? I come from a teaching background. And so I ran a beta test and kind of figured out what the class would be about after
So
doing some.
explain what that means. Because the
Okay.
one thing that I know about you is that you are very close with your community, and that they talk to you and give you feedback.
Right, right, right. So feedback is really important. So had, I have oh, well, okay. So I should also say that's like kind of a piece of advice for those of you who don't already have a newsletter. It's super important to get some kind of a pop-up or something on your website where people can sign up for your newsletter, because then you can,
And you can use
I've
MiloTree.
used MiloTree and I love it. So actually, this is something I wish was something I started from day one, was having a newsletter, but it's okay. I, have one now and I've had it for a while. But why I mention it is because you can get directly in touch. I mean, there's lots of benefits to it, but one is you can get in touch with your fans right away, and you can survey them and ask them what they're looking for, right? What do you want? Or what's your pain point and how can we help you solve it? And so I ran a survey, and I've done actually a number of surveys asking different kinds of questions and just try to get to the root of it. Like, what do people want? What's the format they want? What problems can I help them solve? And then from that data, I pulled this class together. And I ran it as a beta, meaning that it was a prototype. And I wasn't, I wanted to have people join me who were willing and interested and excited about the content, but also willing to be guinea pigs and help me through some of the, like troubleshooting some of the problems that might exist with it. So
Now, did you charge
I
them?
did, and I would recommend that to
Because
anyone who's running a beta. I would definitely charge them. I was actually invited to be in a beta for free, right? It was a program someone was running, and they said, hey, it's free. And it's funny because it was free, I did not have an investment in it, and I just failed to show up. And it
yes.
was no fault of the class. The class actually was probably really good, but I think it's really important that people have that financial investment, because then they're on the hook and they actually want it. They're not just giving you lip service. Sure, I'll do it. I'll help you out. But it's something that they actually want.
Right.
So I did charge, but I didn't charge the full amount. So I made it very reasonable, but still enough that
Okay.
people, when they signed up, they felt like they needed to be there. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah,
And there is something, it is true that people value things they pay for more than things they get for free.
absolutely. Absolutely. And so from there, yeah, so I ran the beta, and then because I gave them this discount, they were willing to give me their feedback. And so along the way, we had a private Facebook group, and they would share their thoughts with me. And I also ran some post survey at the end, and got more feedback from them on what they liked and what they didn't like. And then from there, I launched the class, officially, and I charged more money. And the other thing I offered my beta class, which I think is a nice thing to do, and is I offered them lifetime access. So every time I run the class, they can retake it if they want to. And I think they really appreciated that. And it's also really great for seeding future classes. So, they're my diehard fans, and if they want to take the class again, they'll show up and they'll give feedback to people and they'll be present. And so they're that, launch party basically that comes along with me if they
Right.
want to be there.
Right. And I talk about this, but like really to build a business, you need about 1,000 fans,
Okay.
raving fans. And there you are building
Mm-hmm.
that. Who will buy your next book, who will take your next course, who will talk about you on social media. It's like it doesn't take
Right,
millions,
right. No.
it's actually a much smaller number than people think.
Yeah. And it's it's a good reminder too that I always feel better at the end of the day when I connect one-on-one with someone, right? So if somebody reaches out to me or they want to have a conversation and they're in one of my classes or they've done something with me, I always have such a good feeling. And it's a much better feeling than like, hey, I sent a newsletter out to thousands of people today. No one got in touch with me. And it's like,
Right,
well, that's nice. But did I affect anyone
right,
today? I don't really know. So, yeah.
right, right. Now, here's a
Sure.
question. Is creating a course a get rich quick scheme?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Because I get tons of emails saying, I just created this course and it's a 6-figure course and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so, my instinct is that that is not true, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I don't know if I'm well positioned to answer that question. For me, it has not been a get rich quick scheme, but it is also my biggest source of revenue. So I
Got
think it
it.
just depends on what your goals are, and it depends on your niche and what pain point you're solving for people, right? And how much they're willing to pay for
Okay.
that. Um, and it probably has a lot to do with how you deliver the content. I guess the other piece of it is your commitment. So what I can say is that I've, launched the class now 3 times, and each time I launch it, it's bigger than the
Mm,
previous time.
mm.
And so that wouldn't be necessarily getting rich quick, but it's definitely a growth opportunity. The only thing I see kind of happening in the class space is that it's starting to reach that saturation point, which is, something that's going to happen anywhere online, right? There's, people start getting excited about it and they hear about it and people start selling courses on it. And so the market's definitely getting saturated. And I think it's making it harder to get rich quick, but there are people out there who are making those 6-figure incomes off of their classes. And so I think it's still an exciting place to be and to invest time into. As long as you have a passion for it and you're excited to show up every day and, commit to it and keep going with it, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential for teaching classes. And I mean, the beauty of it that I see, and I've always had this in me, is that you can reach so many people with one experience. So when I was teaching elementary school art, I had class of 30 children at a time. I was actually teaching a bunch of classes, but let's say it's just 30 kids. And I was teaching a workshop one weekend. I had 30 teachers in the room. And I was like, wait a second, all these 30 teachers in the room, they're each teaching 30 kids, let's say. So right now I'm teaching this class to these 30 teachers, and this is going to impact 900 students. And that was such a powerful moment for me when I realized like I can do something one time and have the potential to reach so many more people. And I was teaching in Los Angeles Unified School District with kids who didn't have access to a lot of things, and it was really powerful for me to think that I have this ability to impact people who need this so much who might not get it otherwise. And so you go and teach a class online, and it has that same exact potential, which is exciting. So if you get excited about the potential and you really feel like you can serve a lot of people and you want to, I think the sky's the limit, really, right? And I think some people are going to nail it and crush it, and other people won't. And it just kind of depends on, again, like what the niche is and their passion and their commitment to it.
I think that is so right on. I do. I think the idea that if you have something inside that you want to teach other people, that you can really, that people feel that authenticity. They feel that you're an expert in your field and they want to learn from you, and that you can reach thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it does go back to that need. So in serving your audience, finding out what they really need. And if you're just doing something that you think is fun and important, but nobody really wants it, then you're not going to make millions of dollars doing it. But
What was
yeah.
surprising? What did you find out that surprised you as you were building your course?
Oh, what did surprise me? Well, gosh, that's a really good question. It's taking me back to when I was designing the course. I guess one of the
Oh,
things that surprised me was how far-reaching it was. I live in California, and to see people sign up for the class from all over the world, and I know that I have a blog following of people from all over the world, but it was kind of amazing for me to see people show up in our forum or our shared group, from Belgium and from Australia and from Portugal, speaking all different languages, but showing up in this place and, showing examples of their kids doing the artwork in all these different places and all the different interpretations of the same, set of tools. And it was, I was expecting it, but it was also such a beautiful surprise to see, the world get a little bit smaller with all these people coming together.
yes. And I would say that every day I too, running online businesses, feel that the world is small.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is.
And that especially as moms, we all want the same things for our kids.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do.
So in terms of like the nuts and bolts, like social media, how do you see social media? How has it changed for you? Like what's working for you now?
Yeah, great question. Social media has changed a lot, obviously, since I started, 7 years ago. Pinterest didn't even exist when I started.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I think is so important is just to stay as much as you can on top of what's happening, what those changes are. In the last year, I've had a lot of personal issues going on with my family. My mom was really sick. And so, I just had to turn off a lot of social media, and I've lost track of what's happened, and things have changed a lot. That said, when I started, Facebook was a really strong, that was a place where I put in a lot of investment and a lot of time. And I still think there's a lot of growth potential in Facebook. And where I'm putting all my effort right now is, I guess, a trifecta of Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. And, I think that one of kind of going back to when I started, I think what helped me probably more than anything, content is important, but it's the community. And it's not just my community. It's not just the people that show up for me who like my content, but it's also people who are running in the same space as me or running in similar niches as me who I became friends with. And we would help each other. And so I'm seeing a lot of that happening on social media where on Instagram, there are Instagram pods where people will work together to help each other's Instagrams grow. Or there are Facebook pods where they will, hey, I posted something today on Facebook, and everyone pops over and, likes it or comments on it to help them out. And so that kind of thing is still alive and well. And I think that kind of community support and finding people that you love and that love you and that can really help you grow, and seeing yourself as part of a community. No one can grow on their own. Right. And, even though I largely work by myself, I would not be where I am now if it weren't for the support and friendship of other people. And what's interesting, social media is a big place for that.
Yeah. And I think it really, the internet's really big. And I always say befriend your competitors because you can help each other.
Definitely.
And that you're not exactly in competition with them. There's enough room.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're not. You're not. And everyone has their own spin on things. And your readers or your viewers or your listeners are going to come to you for your specific taste, right? And what you're serving up on your menu will be a little bit different. And, it's like two Italian restaurants can exist on the same street because they're not identical.
Exactly. So, and I think it also creates a feeling of abundance rather than scarcity.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And, the other piece of it was that, when I started, I had two really little kids, and there was and I was feeling very isolated, and I was looking for a community. And so to find all these other people who were doing things similar to what I was doing made my world feel a lot smaller. And I could connect with them and we could understand each other and we could say,
Yes.
going through that too. And, this is how you and I met. We were,
Yes.
we bonded immediately because we had, we were both building businesses and we both had little kids and, so yeah, so finding other people is so important and it just helps, it helps you get through the day and it's also really, it's all about the people anyway.
And what's I think nice about it is that like moms in my preschool had no idea what I was doing, what
Mm-hmm.
being a blogger was, what building an online business looks like. But to find other people doing it was, you're
Yeah.
right, so comforting.
Yeah, yeah, it can be really comforting and you can help each other too. It's like the other day, one of my online friends, she shared how she does video with a certain kind of light. And I was like, that looks like a really cool light. I went and ordered it right away. And we do the same, I do the same thing back and I'll share this as a resource that I'm working on with and I really like it. And so, yeah, so you can be of constant help to each other in a number of ways. And it can be, I'm having a hard day, talk me off the ledge to, how do you grow your newsletter list and what's that trick that you're doing and how can that work for me? So,
And
yeah.
how many hours a week would you say you work?
I really try to be a mom first to whatever extent I can. So I pick up my kids from school every day. And so that's when my work day ends. So it's I kind of work backwards from that. So how many hours does that put in my day? And it's about, or my week, and that's about 25 hours per week. And, I try to leave a little bit of time in there open for, meeting with a friend or getting errands done. And so it probably ends up being like 20 hours a week.
Got it. So that's very doable.
I think so. I think so. And it's been different at different stages. So like when I was finishing up my first book, it was very, very intense. And so my husband would come home early and I would go to the coffee shop and write. And so I think during that season, my hours probably went up,
Right.
2 or 3 times. And so it's seasonal for sure. Like there are sometimes things that come up and the hours go up. And,
Yep.
I have to work on the weekends. So, I also run live workshops in my studio. And so sometimes like a Saturday, I'll be out for 4 hours or on a Thursday night, I'll be out for 3 hours and my husband covers me. So it probably averages about 25, maybe even 30 hours a week on some weeks. Yeah.
Right. Now, what about your business at this moment are you most excited about?
What about it am I most excited about right
Yeah.
now? Okay. Well, right. That's a great question. So I've been doing this for so long and I'm still so in love with the idea of everything that I'm doing. So I feel like I'm excited about like all the pieces. Um, I have been running this online class and I'm excited about launching another set of it. So the way I've been doing it is with launches. And
What
so
do you
I've
mean by
had,
that?
so what I mean is I'll have quarterly launch. So I'll say, it's January and I'm, going to launch my online class and then I'll do it again in April and again in July and again in October. But I'm working right now on making that course evergreen. So I'm working on getting people into a funnel. So when they sign up for my newsletter,
Right.
they get some free content that gets them excited about what it is that TinkerLab is about. And then that moves them through my free challenge. And I could talk about that as well. And then
Yeah.
from there, they would be given the opportunity to sign up for my class. And so rather than run these launches, 4 times a year, it would just be this, ongoing funnel where
Got it.
people, as they join my website, they would get the opportunity to take the class and the class would be there all the time. And I'm doing that because, I'm finding that people want to take the class in February. And I'm like, well, it just started last month. I'm sorry, you'll have to wait till April, but that's not when they want to take it. And then,
Right.
by the time April rolls around, they're on to something else. And so that's not helpful to anyone. So I want to be more helpful and more useful.
And can you explain your free course and how that rolls into your paid course?
Yeah, absolutely. So the free class is I run it as a 5-day challenge. And this was inspired by, so I have a mentor named Jada Selner, who's amazing. And she ran a website called Simple Green Smoothies, and they did these challenges. And I followed along for years and loved how they did it. And I was like, I really want to do a challenge. And the way the challenge works is it's like a free, hers was 30 days. And it's a 30-day smoothie challenge. And what I do is 5 days of free art content, basically. And you get essentially a menu, like a meal plan. And it gives you 5 activities to do with your kids over the course of the week. And it gives you a list of supplies that you buy ahead of time or you gather ahead of time. And a lot of them are things you can find around your house, so it's not too difficult. And then each day for 5 days, you set up one of the projects with your young children and then do it. And then we have this online forum or group on Facebook where people can share what they're doing. And it becomes a really beautiful community of people who are having this shared experience of creativity with their kids and feeling supported and nurtured and energized by it. And then at the end of the 5 days, if they really love it and they want to continue, then they can sign up for 5 more weeks of it. And every week for 5 weeks, they'll get, more projects and the support group will continue. And from that, I've actually received a lot of feedback from people that they want even more. So I'm thinking about, well, how can I expand that and make that into a bigger program that's longer than 5 weeks? And so that's something that's also brewing in the back of my mind. But if you're interested in checking it out, if your listeners want to check it out, you can go look up TinkerLab Art Start, and it'll take you to sign up for the Art Start Challenge. And so right now they're happening quarterly, but maybe by the time someone listens to this, I'll have the evergreen set up and it'll just loop you right into it and you'll get it in your inbox right away. That's the goal.
Oh, that's wonderful. So now, if you had one piece of advice that you wish someone had told you when you were starting your business, what would that be?
Okay. So I have 2. I have one that's a technical piece of advice and one that's a little bit more theoretical. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the technical thing is that I get most of my traffic through organic search, and I wish I had known about search engine optimization or SEO earlier. So I found out about it, right in the beginning. There was actually a mom in my daughter's preschool who was an SEO expert. She was like a consultant, and I didn't even know what it was. I think like maybe 2 years to really understand that, people are finding me organically, and there's actually strategy behind that. And so I wish I had done that right from the beginning. It's not something, if you haven't been doing SEO, it's you can be like me and you can fix it. You can go back and you can put Yoast onto your website, and you can sign up for a keyword tool finder, and it's definitely doable. But I wish I did that from the beginning.
Okay, so Yoast is a plugin in your WordPress site that helps you optimize your posts.
Exactly. So if you're on WordPress, I think maybe it's on other sites too, but on WordPress, you can get Yoast, and it's so great because it'll give you, the green light if everything looks exactly how it should, and it'll be, a yellow light if things are almost there and red if it's terrible. And it gives you all kinds of areas where you just plug things in. What is your keyword that you're trying to go after? And you have to, write out some what your description is of the content, and it tells you that you need to have more keywords inside of your post, and it just guides you through the whole thing. Very, very, very simple, and it makes it really easy for you to get those keywords in there and to optimize your post the best way you possibly can. And then the other tool that I recently discovered, I used to use, Google had this keyword finder that it sort of changed over the years and it became less useful. But I found a new one. I pay for it, but I like it a lot. It's called Mangools. I think it's spelled Mangools.
Okay.
And it's a keyword finder, and it's just really comprehensive. You can actually test it for free. I'm not an affiliate. I wish I was right now, but you can test it for free, and I like it. I think it's good enough. I decided to pay for it.
Yeah, I use one called KW. My volume is weird. KW Finder.
Oh, I've heard of that one too. Okay, I have to look into that. KW Finder.
Which I also pay for, but I find it really useful.
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. It definitely is, because people are searching for things, and it's a great way to find people. And that's how I get people on my newsletter. They come to my website and they like what they see there. Then they'll sign on for my newsletter. But if they don't ever find my website, they won't sign up for my newsletter. So that's important.
That's great. Now, what is the other piece of advice?
So the other piece of advice is to, I think about how important it is to kind of be in this for the long haul, right? And to have like a long plan for yourself, and to make sure that whatever it is you're doing, that you can be passionate about this thing for a really long time, because burnout is so inevitable. Otherwise, there have been so many moments where I haven't wanted to throw in the towel, but I've been exhausted, absolutely exhausted. Like, someone hacks into my site, or, my website's overloaded, and, things are shutting down, or, there's just some kind of technical problem. And when those things come, those are the things I hate, obviously.
Yes.
Those are the things that really get to me. I can be techie, but I'm not that techie. And so when the techie things happen, I love what I do so much that I'm motivated to figure it out, and it doesn't burn me out and stress me out and kill me. And I can keep going. So just to make sure that whatever it is you're doing, you love it enough that when, stuff hits the fan,
Which it will.
It definitely will, that you're still motivated to do it, because that's the thing that's going to drive you to get through the hard times. So that would be
I love it. And I totally agree. It is because you love it.
It's because I love it. Yes, it is. Absolutely. So by going back to my mentor, Jada, she runs this program called Love Over Metrics. And I just love that, that's that phrase, that saying that, metrics are important, and, we're running businesses. So you want to quantify what you're doing. You want to make sure that you can pay for your, food that you put on your table. But the love has to come first. And, it has to be a love for what you're doing, and a love for your audience, and, just really believing in your content. And that's going to drive you, and that's going to keep you happy and enabled and confident,
And also,
and connected
that's
to
what
people.
your audience will respond to, is you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. And they'll see right through you if that's not there. They'll be like, wait, what are you trying to get something from
Totally.
me? So
okay, Rachelle, how can people find you, reach out to you, learn more about you, start in your classes?
yeah, absolutely. So if you go to TinkerLab.com, so Tinker, like, tinkering in your studio, lab, it's all one word, TinkerLab.com. Then you can find my website. And if you wanted to try out this Art Start Challenge, you could just do a /Art Start, and you loop right into that 5-day challenge that will hopefully be evergreen soon. On social media, everywhere, I'm TinkerLab. And so you can just search for TinkerLab, or you can look for my name anywhere. And if you wanted to reach me by email, I'm Rachelle@TinkerLab.com. And my name is spelled like Rachelle, Rachelle, @TinkerLab.com.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was such a pleasure. And I adore everything that you're doing. And I just want to support you however I can. And I love that you're running this show. It's awesome.
If you're trying to grow your social media followers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest, plus trying to grow your email list, definitely check out MiloTree. It is the smart pop-up you add to your blog or your site, and it asks your visitors to follow you on social media or subscribe to your list. Just a couple things. It's super easy to add to your site. We offer a WordPress plugin or a simple line of code. It's Google friendly on mobile, so you don't have to worry about showing pop-ups on mobile. It's lightning fast. It won't slow your site down, and you can grow multiple platforms at once. So check it out, milotree.com. We also offer your first 30 days free.